Hello and welcome to another Naxos live stream. What you just heard was a bit of a video from the Frank Dupree trio and him playing music by Nikolai Kapustin. It's actually the second album of Kapustin's music he's done, and it's absolutely wonderful. And he's my guest here on this live stream. Frank, nice to talk to you. Nice to see you in person.
Hello, I'm very happy to talk to you about Kapustin and much more.
Well, listen, we're going to go fairly quickly to the first track from this album, but you've won a bunch of awards, but the thing that got me, I noticed when I read your bio is you were initially trained as a jazz percussionist, and I want to come back to that after we hear the first track from the album Blueprint, the album Blueprint, and the first track is Sunrise, Daybreak.
Right.
Frank, that's wonderful. Just makes me think the only thing I need to add to that is a glass of bourbon or something.
Yeah, that's true.
So you were initially trained as a jazz percussionist. So how do you think that affects the way you approach the piano and piano music?
It's trained as a jazz percussionist is the short form of my studies in the drums. I started when I was 3 or 4 years old with the drums, with the percussion, and more or less just a few months later I started with the piano. So there are only a few months before with the drums, and I started just making music, the kind of music which was around. And my father and my uncle, they played in a brass band. So I was always visiting the rehearsals and also the concerts of the brass band. And so this was my first music which I was in contact with. And yeah, I got a wonderful piano teacher with whom I've studied 25 years. It's Sontraut Speidel, and she was really not just a teacher. She was my professor and mentor for life, I can say. And yeah, during my whole childhood, I've done a lot of different kind of music. So it was especially thanks to the percussion, because we have on all continents we have percussion instruments. There are Indian instruments, African, South American, Latin American instruments, and I have done all these kind of styles. um, when I was 16, I stopped my percussion lessons because then I needed more time to practice the piano. It was also the time when I've known the pieces by Kapustin, so maybe he's the reason why
Mhm.
I needed more time to practice the piano.
So how did you discover his music? It was a new name to me. I read the name, but I knew little about his music. How did you discover it?
I've discovered him the first time 15 years ago, so when I was 15. And my piano, no, my music teacher in school was the one who sent me a link, a YouTube link. And it was, I think, an impromptu with Kapustin himself playing the piano. And I was totally in love with this kind of music. I've already played Rhapsody in Blue, and I've known a lot of this, yeah, jazz kind, classical music like Kurt Weill and Bernstein, and I was a big fan of this. And then there was Kapustin, and this is something really special.
He must have been a pretty good pianist if he could play his own music.
Oh yeah, yeah. There is also a video on YouTube. Everybody who's watching this video has to watch the Toccata by Kapustin with a big band, and he is playing very fast notes and just totally cool, sitting at the piano, and he is just doing like this, and it's crazy. He has a perfect technique. He also studied with the same teacher like Vladimir Horowitz,
Okay.
and this tells us enough, I think.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So I want to listen to another bit of music from Blueprint, your new album. It's from the 8 concert studies, the number 7, the Intermezzo, which gives
Oh.
you it's kind of a different side of Kapustin.
Mhm.
that's great. Frank, a lot of composers try to write out jazz, and it doesn't work so well.
Yeah.
So, what does Kapustin do that makes it work so absolutely beautifully?
This is really magic for me. I really don't know, because it's absolutely perfectly written, not just for the piano, also in every kind of style. So it doesn't matter if it is a bossa, or if it is swing music or bebop or whatever. He really it is absolute improvisation, but it's so complicated. The thing is that every jazz pianist, I'm quite sure that, also me including, I would wish to play like Kapustin writes music, but improvised, of course. And this is not possible. So I don't know how he did it, but when he is composing, it's really like he has one idea and then he starts with a big improvisation. But what he is doing is to yeah to make the improvisation much more perfect. And so he is really trying to make a better improvisation, and this makes it so really unique.
I want to play one of the 24 jazz preludes, the prelude number 23.
Mhm.
Were these jazz preludes meant for teaching, or it was just, pieces that he wrote because he wanted to?
I think he wanted to wrote something, but in his style, like Chopin did or like Rachmaninoff did. They all had many preludes, and also George Gershwin started with the preludes, but he only wrote three of them,
Mm-hmm.
because then came Rhapsody in Blue. Nikolai Kapustin wrote all the 24,
Mm-hmm.
and he has done a very good job.
Okay, well, this is going to be prelude number 23,
The F major.
F major. Oh, that's so great. He makes so many different kinds of rhythmic shifts in this music.
Yeah,
It's stunning.
yeah.
Can you introduce the other members of the trio, please?
Yes, I can. I am so happy to play in a trio with Jakob Krupp at the double bass and Obi Jenne on the drums. They are both classically trained. Jakob Krupp was also a member of the Academy of the Ensemble Moderne in Frankfurt, so he can play just everything on the double bass. It's really crazy. And he is a fantastic improviser on the bass with a perfect tune, which was the most important thing to play the Kapustin like this, because most of the time he is doubling my left hand, or
Hmm.
he adds even a few notes lower of the left hand. And this, of course, has to be really perfectly in tune.
Hmm.
And he is always, this is one of his talents. And Obi Jenne is a very good friend, and we play together since 10 years or more than 10 years. We started in several projects where I've combined classical music with jazz, and he is also the drummer of the CD, of the first Kapustin CD,
Hmm.
with the
Okay.
piano concerto number 4. And he's definitely the only one I know who is able to play Kapustin on the drums, because he is very often a member in orchestra. He was in the Academy of the Berlin Philharmonic when he was
Wow.
after his studies, and
Hmm.
then he decided to be a jazz drummer, because a classical percussionist has to wait a lot of times, and he wanted to play the drums, and so he decided to do some jazz. And as we can see, he almost has no pause in our Kapustin version.
So how did you go about, or how much arranging did you do? How did you do that part of it for these trios? Because they were originally piano pieces, right?
Right. All the pieces are written for piano solo, really
Hmm.
every piece. And thanks to the Kapustin Piano Concerto, where there is a drum set voice in the score. So I already knew how Kapustin would write for the drum set in that case. And we started when we played, the three of us, we started with the bass line, which is of course close to the left hand, close to the original score,
Hmm.
because every harmonic change and all the lines in the left hand, they are also perfectly written. And so this was the first step to write the bass line. The
Hmm.
second step is then to find the groove. So which kind of jazz style, which kind of groove is it? Because you have many possibilities, especially on the drum set. And Obi Jenne is playing just from the bass sheet music,
Hmm.
from the double bass sheet music, and he has no extra written percussion or drum
Right.
sheet music for himself. And we were listening, we were trying many different kind of styles. Is it the brushes he can use? Is it the wooden sticks? Or is it maybe hot rods he can use for this beat? And so it was a lot of work for
Hmm.
us, for all of us, because this, when you have kind of is it New Orleans swing, or is it
Hmm.
a later swing from the 40s or the 30s? So you can really go in all these decades. Um, the Also the bass line changed then, of course.
Hmm.
And because I'm a drummer, we were we were really discussing a lot,
Hmm.
because of course I have practiced all the pieces, I know them for quite a long time, and I have my imagination already in my head and in my ear.
Hmm.
And then at the end is the question, will it sound like this? Is it maybe good, what I've expected? And sometimes we have different results on the
Hmm.
CD, but we all agree and we are all happy with the result.
Oh, that's great.
Oh.
Okay. They're calling about car insurance.
Yeah, this is Mr. Kapustin, maybe, no?
Yeah. Listen, I want to play another track. I want to play Motive Force. Can you
Ah.
introduce that a bit for us?
Oh, this is a very special piece because it has his own opus, but it's just 1.5 minutes long. And for me, this is really rock and roll like it's in the books. It's it starts with all that riffs and with all that rock and roll, yeah, piano with it, something like that, and it's so funny. So just enjoy.
Okay, we will. Oh, that's great. You know, I did a long drive recently, and one of the things I was playing on the drive was your album.
Yeah,
And
cool.
when this piece came on, I realized
Oh,
my foot was going down on the gas
yeah.
more and more, and I
I
realized,
can imagine.
oh my God, I'm driving really fast.
I'm sorry for this.
Oh no, it was great. It was great. You mentioned your previous Capriccio album which included Kapustin's Piano Concerto No. 4, which was
Mhm.
which is a great recording. It's so much fun, and it has that same kind of energy, just an immense amount of energy.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
can you talk a bit about the piano concerto, the Kapustin Piano Concerto?
Yeah, Kapustin's Piano Concerto No. 4 is also quite full of rock and roll. The other concerti are more like in a swing or, and sometimes also more classical written, but the fourth piano concerto is really rock and roll um, all the way through. But then you have this beautiful slow movements in between where the strings are playing so soft, and it sometimes it's sounds like songs by Nat King Cole, for example, like the
Mm-hmm,
Christmas song or something. So you're really in a romantic mood, and then suddenly again we are back to rock and roll music. But
mm-hmm,
still, we have a very big cadenza in the fourth piano concerto, and there he shows everything he can. There is a swing. Then he starts with a little fugato, which is combined like Shostakovich with Prokofiev, with Rachmaninoff, and sometimes Schnittke. And there are so many different Russian styles in that cadenza. And then again, it slows down, and we are back to rock and roll, but still faster in the finale than even before. And I've played it in the meanwhile 3 times live in a concert,
mm-hmm,
because we have recorded the fourth piano concerto in the big lockdown in winter 2020 here in Germany,
mm-hmm.
and so we couldn't play it in a concert. But last year in December, so just 1.5 months ago, we played it, and the audience just got crazy about this piano concerto. It was such a lot of fun playing this piece on stage.
Well, I hope I get a chance to hear you play it live in person someday. You know, when
I would love
all
to
this
come.
when all this craziness is over, and
Yeah, right.
um, okay, we're gonna play not the whole concerto, obviously. We're
Yeah,
going to play some of the beginning, and hopefully people listening will run out and buy this album too. Wow. That's so great. That's so great.
That's rock and roll.
It is. It really is.
Yeah, with
You
the
know, and
classical orchestra and piano.
well, exactly. And it's the energy. It's just this
Yeah,
fantastic energy. I want to step away from Kapustin for just a couple of minutes to a much older album of George Antheil.
yeah.
You recorded his Piano Concerto No. 1, which is very different. And
Absolutely.
well, it's I know some of his music, the Ballet Mécanique and a few other pieces. How would you introduce this piece to somebody other than
Oh
playing it?
wow. Yeah, I would say the Antheil Piano Concerto Number One is very influenced by Igor Stravinsky on the one side, because there are even quotes of Petrushka, and you can also hear some chords from Le Sacre du Printemps. But still, of course, he has his own very, how can you say, very, uh, also a lot of energy, but in a different manner, with a lot of clusters, with a
Hmm.
lot of octaves. He is definitely the bad boy of classical music. He named himself as like this, and he's absolutely right. I will play again his music in a few weeks. And I'm already scared about all the clusters and glissandi and everything what he has written for the piano. It's just going crazy on the keyboard.
There's an odd fact about Antheil. He was the one, I believe, that worked with Hedy Lamarr, the
Mhm.
Hollywood actress, and
Yes.
she was a brilliant inventor.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
together they came up with the basis of
Bluetooth.
exactly of Bluetooth,
Yes.
of the
Yes. I know.
algorithms and things that help our cell phones to function.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, he was more than just a pretty face and a great composer.
Absolutely. Was a very creative person. And I've also played some piano sonatas and also chamber music. And this is so full of good ideas and very interesting, and nobody has done something like this in that way, like Antheil. And
Hmm.
this, especially his piano sonatas are in the early 20s, 100 years ago. So, and this is new music. This is definitely new music.
Hmm. Let's hear a bit of the piano concerto, and
Aha,
then we'll come back to Kapustin.
good.
Oh, that's so great.
I haven't heard for quite a long time. Interesting.
Before I get to another question from me about your future plans, we have a few comments and questions. We actually have a lot of comments
Cool.
about the live stream. And
Uh-huh.
one is from Greg Capaldini. He writes,
Uh-huh.
Dr. Dupree, I just bought your 2 Kapustin CDs for my brother, but don't tell him. I hope he's not listening. I just blew his cover. Anyway, he said,
It's
I have
good.
a question as an amateur pianist. What are some approachable works, perhaps the sonatina or certain of the jazz preludes? So
Mhm.
he says he really loves number 23. So
Yeah, me too, me too. Yeah, first of all, I'm not a doctor. I'm just
well,
Frank. Maybe no, maybe I will do a doctor with Kapustin then.
yeah.
No, there are a few jazz preludes which are very easy to not easy, of course. Mozart is also not easy. For example, number 3 of the jazz preludes is it's quite slow, and you have the time in between the notes, and this is quite short and also very wonderful music. And also number 4 of the jazz preludes is also quite, yeah, it's nicely to play. It's just wonderful, and you have the and I'm sure this is possible to practice and to work on. It's absolutely worth it.
And a question from Paula Malind about where you can get Kapustin scores, because she'd love to see a page of one and can't believe he notated everything.
Oh, I have here everything. It's not everything. I don't have the sonatas here, but the of course Schott Music is a publisher in Germany, in Mainz, and they have published a lot of Kapustin's music, and everything is written down here. But the most interesting to see, I'm sure, is Nikolai Kapustin's handwriting. And because we have very spontaneously recorded the 4th piano concerto, I had to learn my piano score from the actual score. And this is very small, and I can look for the where is it, for the cadenza, and this is just a wonderful handwriting, but it's very small, and you can see every
Wow.
note. And mostly when it sounds virtuosic, then also the page is quite dark.
Another listener asks, what is the thing you most like about Kapustin pieces? And is there a favorite piece of his that you would like to record that you haven't yet?
There are a few piano concertos left, and the next one is already in progress, in preparation, and so we work on this. And what I like about Kapustin's music is, on the one side, of course, the fact that it's not just inspired by jazz. So the music itself is jazz, but of course composed. And me, as a former percussionist, as a drummer, I just love to play in tempo or in a groove. And when you for example play Beethoven, of course you also play in tempo, but you are also free to do rubato, which of course is also the same in Kapustin. But when you have this swing, for example, and you can snip on 2 and 4 in the music, and you can feel it in your body, and during playing the piano, this is for me just enjoyable and a lot of fun on stage.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, I want you to introduce the final piece of music. Of course, it's from Blueprint, your new album.
Mhm.
It's the paraphrase on Aquarela do Brasil.
Yes.
Tell us something about that, please.
Yeah, this is Brazil is a jazz standard, and so it's you can improvise about this theme, about this melody. And Nikolai Kapustin wrote a paraphrase on this jazz standard. He has done this with a few jazz standards, and we have chosen Blue Bossa and also Brazil. And what I like about it is it's a samba, because we have many different jazz styles on Blueprint. We have bebop and cool jazz, and also some kind of take five, like Dave Brubeck style. But we didn't have samba. And I personally love the samba. Also, dancing the samba or salsa is just fantastic. I've even done a few hours in a dance course in salsa dancing. And the fun thing about this song is that at the end, there is one more percussionist on the disc than it's written on the backside, because I couldn't resist to bring the bongos with me and to start a little percussion solo together with my friend Obi. And so at the end, you will hear two new hands on the drums, and these are mine.
Oh, great. So the secret is out. We won't tell
Yeah.
anyone. Frank, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And
thank you very much.
I look forward to all of your upcoming recordings and everything you do. And hopefully when crazy times end, you get over to this side of the Atlantic where I am.
I would love to.
And I get to hear you live and, share a few drinks.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the conversation.
You're very welcome. My pleasure. And to go out, here is Paraphrase on Aquarela do Brasil.
Very good.